Aaron, where are the traps? I think I saw a mouse.
A mouse?
You, do realize it's not coming back, right?
Just give it a second, it's coming.
You know, I really don't like how you've changed since you started playing God of War.
What are you talking about? This is how I've always acted. Ooh, that's a really pretty mountain. I should make sure to talk about that in the review. Why did I cut my hair for this? This opening gag was stupid. I remember when I first saw the trailer for God of War years ago at E3, and from the second that Kratos emerged from the darkness with that big ol' I've seen some beard, we all knew this was going to be something special. And sure enough, we were right. This game has been sweeping the world, receiving so much praise you could choke a world serpent with it. But is it all deserved? Is the game really that good? Was it worth cutting off all my hair and getting face paint in my eye for that opening gag? Probably not that last one. But for the rest of those questions, let's start by taking a look at the story. Several years have passed since the events of the last game, and after having killed the Greek gods, including his own father Zeus, Kratos has now done what anyone would do with that much blood on their hands. Grew a beard and skipped town. He moved north to the Netherlands, and as the story opens up, we learn just how much time has passed because Kratos, the man who was tricked by Ares into killing his own family, has now remarried and started a brand new family with his son Atreus. However, as this story begins, his wife has passed away, and her final wish was for Kratos and her son to take her ashes to the highest peak in the Nine Realms and scatter them to the winds. This leads Kratos on a long journey as he attempts to reach this peak, but more importantly, he has to learn how to connect with his son, which will probably be Kratos' greatest struggle of them all. This is a man who stabbed a Leviathan, went toe-to-toe with Hercules, and pummeled Poseidon into paste, and yet putting his hand on his son's shoulder is just too much for him. I'm in a glass case of emotion. Now you might be thinking, wait, this is a God of War game, right? Because that sounds like a whole mess of emotions, and when I think of God of War, I think of a big bald dude cutting up zombies and monsters. Don't worry, that's in here too, because as you set off on your quest, you are visited by a whole new group of gods who wish to have words with Kratos, and for some mysterious reason, dead soldiers are rising from the grave. That's right, some massive cataclysmic event has caused the world to become twisted, and the first sign of all this is the damned are spilling out from the underworld, and no one is sure why. Yeah, I wonder why that could be. Kratos. What cataclysmic event could possibly throw the world out of balance? Kratos. What could possibly cause the undead to spill out of the underworld and start walking the earth? Kratos. It's almost as if someone killed all the people in charge of keeping the world in balance, including the Lord of the Underworld, whose job was watching over the souls of the damned to make sure that they didn't spill out into the earth. Kratos. I'm just kidding. That's not the actual reason why any of this stuff is happening. In fact, that doesn't really even come up that much in this game. But doesn't it feel like it should? You caused the apocalypse. Doesn't it feel like that should come with some negative consequences? Also, while I'm on this topic, whatever happened to Greece? Does it still exist, or is it like 1800 BC version of Chernobyl? Because last we saw of it, you had flooded their cities and destroyed their sun. I have so many questions. Now, I'll go into more details about the story later, but for now, let's talk about the actual gameplay. And if you've played a God of War game before, then the first thing that you're going to notice is that they didn't look like this. The old God of War games were shot with stationary cameras that showed you an entire room as you entered it, but this new game is more of the modern over-the-shoulder camera angle, which doesn't allow you to see the entire room full of monsters, but that's not what this game is about. Where before the point of God of War was, let's see how many of these monsters you can button mash your way through, this game sacrifices quantity for quality, and thank gods for that. Listen, I had a blast playing the old God of War games. They were a ton of fun, but there always came that point where I would think, yeah, okay, more of these guys. Great. Listen, can we just move this along so I can get to the bigger monster at the end of all this? I always eventually got bored of fighting so many monsters, but in here, you'll only find yourself going up against maybe 3 to 6 monsters at a time, max. But you now have to pay attention to each and every one of them. You can tell where this game took influence from more modern games, especially Dark Souls, because this is no longer a button masher. When a Draugr appears, you have to figure out the exact right way to approach it. Not so much at first. In the beginning, they are just going to run at you and try and slash at you, but as the game goes along, they're going to learn how to block, heal themselves, shoot fire and poison from across the room, corner you, approach you from different angles. Yeah, you have to be conscious of when you're blocking, when you're rolling, and when you're allowed to counterattack, because otherwise, every single battle could be your last. By the end of this game, every time I entered a room and 4 monsters popped up, I ended up coming close to death in every single battle. Or at least I would have if I didn't have a little help from Atreus, who is a major part of this game. But I'm not going to talk about that right now. Instead, I'm going to leave the entire point of this game off to the side for half this video, so that way I can focus on the side quest. Why? Because that's exactly what I did when I played this game. Yes, there are side quests in here which are brand new to the God of War franchise, which I'm sure some die-hard old-school God of War fans will have a problem with, but I honestly think they're an amazing addition to this game on pretty much every level. I mean, it even makes sense why you would have side quests in this God of War game, but not in the previous ones. In the old God of War games, you were on a mission. You were in a berserker rage going from point A to B, and nothing was going to stop you. Someone popped up asking for help? Sucks to be them. Get out of the way or else Kratos is going to run you through and then sacrifice you to a puzzle so that he can advance his own mission. But now, Kratos is older. His anger has died down. He's not on a quest for revenge, instead he's on a quest to scatter his wife's ashes and connect with his son. Not the kind of mission that you can see someone charging through like a rage-fueled locomotive. It's the kind of quest that does lead itself towards exploration, towards wandering around as you try and figure things out. And if you're a fan of side quests like I am, you are going to be in Valhalla with these. I remember when I was in the tutorial level, the freaking tutorial level, and suddenly I saw the path split off and I explored and found a chest. Then I explored some more and found a rope going down a cliff, which led me to another path that went under the bridge that I had just walked over, which led me to another chest. And along that way, I picked up a random toy that served no purpose other than just being a collectible that you can then sell later on for upgrades. This was all as soon as the tutorial level began, and I was stunned that they were allowing me to explore that much. But it actually was part of the tutorial. It was this game training you to think, yeah, I need to look everywhere. I need to explore and not just go straight from point A to B. That is an incredibly smart way to design a tutorial level so that it subconsciously puts the need to explore in your head as soon as the game begins. And as this game went along, I ran into a few side quests, a few missions that I got sent on. I found a couple of secret rooms with hidden items to collect, and I was impressed with all that. But eventually, I came to a part of the map known as the Lake of Nine, and dear God, coming to this part of the map was akin to when I first played a Final Fantasy game and they just said, hey kids, here's the whole world map, enjoy! Because after I hit this point, I was blown away by how much I could do. When you get to the Lake of Nine, you can just row your boat from one shore to another, finding ghosts to take missions from, tears in the fabric of space filled with monsters that you had to close, secret language tablets that allow Atreus to decipher sacred tomes that open new levels to you. Hell, there's even an entire abandoned kingdom for you to go and search through. Literally no part of the story sends you over there. It's just for you to explore. I literally spent days not even touching the main storyline as I just explored the side quest. And even when I returned to the main quest, I found myself almost immediately returning to these side quests because another big surprise for this God of War game is it's a Metroidvania game. You will constantly get upgrades for your weapons that allow you to open areas that were earlier cut off to you. So even if you already explored everything you thought there was to find, a couple hours later, the map is going to suddenly double on you. And when I finally did return to the main storyline, Holy cow, did all this side questing pay off. On these side quests, I was fighting monsters so strong that I was barely scraping by. I challenged them over and over until I finally pulled through by the skin of my teeth, only to return to the main storyline and discover, oh, I'm now twice as strong as I should be at this point. And that's what makes these side quests such a great addition. They're already imaginative and so deep that you'll be shocked by what you end up running into. I mean, you'll go through combat trials in Muspelheim, you'll free dragons, discover ancient dwarven king's treasures, solve puzzles. Dear God, are there so many puzzles to solve, which will actually leave you more exhausted than the battles, and I mean that in a good way. You'll even fight Valkyries, which are some of the coolest battles in the whole game, but every single one of these side quests are so rewarding. Everything that you do in this game will get you rewards in one way or another. There's a whole crafting system in this game where you can make equipment that will boost several different stats, and then you can upgrade that equipment or attach enchantments to them to increase those stats further, and wow, what a difference that makes. After a couple hours of side questing, not grinding is long and tedious, and you are only doing it to get stronger, and is typically the most boring part of a video game. After a couple hours of side questing, you know, going on further adventures and exploring the world and unlocking new items, all of which are genuinely fun to do, after a couple hours of doing that, you will find yourself unrecognizably stronger than the person you were mere moments ago. And each equipment has various other abilities, like creating temporary armor, slowing down time, making your axe explode. There's so much that you can do with this equipment, and when I was done, I was honestly shocked how deep this part of the game went. And as I said, you'll unlock enchantments, armor, and material for upgrades through each of these side quests. Every single one of them gives you some kind of a reward that makes it worth the effort. Except for Odin's ravens. These little green snots. There's 51 of them in the game, hidden so well I spent hours trying to track them all down. And what do you get for killing them all? Nothing. You just killed every bird that Odin had placed in the world so that he could spy on you. And do they drop some amazing enchantment? Some rare material? Does some new person come out and say, hey, thanks for taking care of all those birds? Do they form into a giant 50-second raven that you have to fight as a secret boss? No! You finally get all 51 of them, and you get nothing. Good day, sir. That was it. Enjoy your achievement. The rest of these side quests, totally worth it. Indulge yourself in them. But Odin's ravens, forget that unless you're going for the platinum trophy. There is zero reason to hunt them down, which does kind of, well, something Norse mythology reference that means suck. I'm too tired from hunting them down to be clever right now. Although, I guess you do get experience points from killing these guys off, which you also get for doing pretty much anything in this game, and the experience points are used to unlock abilities for your axe or for Atreus' bow, and as you unlock these abilities, you'll get new ways to fight, and this will make you so much stronger, but only if you're willing to learn how to use these abilities. Nothing in this game is just handed to you. Much like a lesson taught to you by your new stern, angry, bearded father, you have to work for everything. You can unlock a move with your axe that will allow you to increase a combo or raise an enemy's stun meter, allowing you to do a brutal cinematic kill on them, but if you don't actually learn how to use it, then that's not going to do anything for you. This game hands you the bow, but if you don't know when to fire, then it's going to pull you aside and give you a stern talking to. And to everyone who is worried that, whoa, hold up, side quest, upgradable armor, father-son bonding? That doesn't sound like a God of War game. Don't worry, this game still holds onto many of the key elements of a God of War game, but it updates them perfectly. In many ways, this is to God of War what Resident Evil 4 was to that franchise. Remember when you picked up Resident Evil 4 for the first time and everything felt different? It felt like they had totally dismantled everything in that franchise and rebuilt it from top to bottom, making it feel new but also like something special, something with amazing gameplay that impressed you at every turn. But then as you continued to play, you realized, oh, this really is still a Resident Evil game. I see it now. Yeah, that's what this is. This really is the Resident Evil 4 of this generation. But this game doesn't just carry over many of the gameplay elements of the previous God of War games and expand upon them, it did that with the story, which is where this game really sticks the landing. Yes, as I said, the previous games were all about Kratos on a quest for revenge, to kill the gods and nothing was stopping him. But this shows what happens to a man who lived only for revenge after he finally got it, and now he has to move on. What happens when the guy who went on a massive quest to get back at the gods for killing his first wife has now lost his second, but it wasn't to anything that he can point blame at? She wasn't murdered by someone he must seek revenge on. It's just something that happened. It's just life. What happens to this man when he isn't filled with rage but sadness? When he doesn't have a mission but instead just questions about what he should do next? And what does this one-man army do when he has to be a father? When he has to teach instead of destroy? This, in many ways, is the Unforgiven of God of War games. Oh right, I forgot that my audience is 20 years younger than me. It's the Logan of God of War games. And that's what makes this game truly special. Great mechanics, amazing upgrade system, rich, deep side quest, stunning graphics. I mean, just look at that mountain up there. But the story? This is an incredibly bold direction to take this story. But it's also an honest one. For anyone out there who cares about the character of Kratos, who actually was invested in his story, this is the way you write the next chapter. You don't treat him like a one-dimensional character who only knows rage. You ask the hard questions. What happens next? And this game answers that perfectly. Not just in where the story itself goes, but even in the gameplay itself. Kratos has to learn how to become a father, and Atreus has to learn how to be the child of Kratos. And throughout the course of this game, not only do you see them bonding in the story as one revelation about Kratos' past after another comes to the light, but you even see it in how you play. As you level Atreus up, he'll go from making mild distractions in battle to actually being a competent warrior who many times I would let him handle the monsters all on his own, and you'll even hear Kratos go from saying, "You need improvement," or "You weren't focusing, boy," to actually complimenting him and even sounding impressed by his son. Small touches like that make these characters feel like they're more than just pixels and codes. It makes them feel like actual characters. Characters who are going on a journey of growth and discovery right before your own eyes. But it's not just Atreus. Remember, Kratos wasn't exactly friendly to, well, anyone. But in this game, you'll meet a pair of dwarves who will craft you weapons. You'll meet a witch who lives out in the woods. You'll meet the world's smartest man who is little more than a head. Yeah, that's a long story that I'm not going to get into right now. And each of them will stick with you throughout the entire game, and they're all amazing, well-written, fully developed characters on their own. But sure enough, Kratos starts off hating the fact that he has to even say 2 words to any of them, but he finds himself forced to continue to interact with them, and as the story goes along, yeah, you can actually see Kratos starting to loosen up. He starts to, well, like is a strong word, but he gets to the point where he can tolerate them at least. He even starts to trust them and ask them for help when he needs it, something the old Kratos never would have done, but you actually believe it here because you're watching that change happen, and that's what this game is really about. If you went into this game thinking, oh yeah, Kratos in the world of Norse mythology, I can't wait to see him punch Odin right in his good eye and beat Thor over the head with his own hammer, yeah, that's not what this is. This is not the story of Kratos fighting several new gods all over again. I mean, sure, there is a bit of that in here, but it's a much quieter story, a more personal tale of Kratos learning what it's like to actually trust people again, and dare I say, care about them? Okay, again, care might be a strong word, but by Kratos standards, it's caring. And when you think about everything that Kratos has been through and where he starts at the beginning of this game, in many ways, that makes this his biggest quest of all, and believe me, you will see him go through a personal hell to reach its end. There is one moment in this game that I wouldn't dare spoil, but it was such an emotional gut punch just in the way it was shot and how well Kratos was directed and animated that I nearly dropped the controller. It stunned me that much, and it doesn't even involve any giant monsters or gods or anything of that sort. It's just a moment that really shows you the pain Kratos is going through. So I know that's a Titan-sized amount of praise, but is there anything wrong with this game? Any negatives? Well, I will say the R3 or circle command that you have to hit to start a cinematic kill or interact with the environment can be a bit squirrely at times. There were many times it looked like I was standing exactly where I needed to, and I still had to inch around until I could get to just the right spot. Also, to go into your Spartan Rage, a very useful attack that will boost your power, make you pretty much invulnerable, and also regenerate your health, something that you really need to save for just the right moment, you have to hit L3 and R3. And in order to run, you have to hit L3. And in order to lock onto enemies, you have to hit R3. And you better believe I ran into several frustrating moments in this game, especially when I was fighting the Valkyries who could take me out with a single combo, where I was trying to dodge an attack and target them at the same time, only to accidentally activate the Spartan Rage, which I was trying to hold on to for the exact moment I would need it later on in the game when it could possibly save my life. In fact, while I'm on this topic, the targeting command is so fickle in this game. It feels like some enemies you can target no problem, other enemies you gotta be standing right up on them, and even after you're able to target them, they'll have some special attack which will just allow them to become untargeted for some reason. And it's not like you can then hit the targeting button again and you'll just turn around to face them. No. You have to then search the entire arena to be able to find them. But guess what? They're moving at the speed of light and they're about to kill you with an insta-combo. Yeah, you don't exactly have time to stand there and survey the entire area. It feels like the targeting command could have been a lot smoother, a lot simpler to use, and when you consider how well every single other part of the combat system in this game works, yeah, it does make this stand out like a sore thumb. And one last little complaint that I have, throughout this game you're going to run into trolls, which they use as mini-bosses, but they kind of overuse them. Don't get me wrong, they are good monsters and they are tough fights, and there are other mini-bosses in this game, but still, I did think they overused this one type of boss a bit too much. But those are just a few nitpicks about the gameplay, and as you guys saw, those nitpicks don't stack up to the mountain of positives in here. The combat that made every encounter feel intense. The side quests that never failed to reward you, except for Odin's Ravens. The hours upon hours of extra content that you didn't have to explore, but you really wanted to. The epic boss fights that will leave your jaw dropped. The absolutely stunning graphics. I mean, again, just look at that mountain. The gorgeous cinematics, all of which are rendered in-engine, so it never feels like you're moving into a cutscene, but instead feels like the story is unfolding right in front of you. And of course, a story filled with amazing characters that really does move our protagonist forward, perhaps even more than in any other sequel I've ever played. All topped off with a few twists and reveals that never failed to leave me shaken. And after thinking about all that, I have to return to the initial question. Is this game worth the hype? Yes. Yes, and then some, because this game is perfect! Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and a special thank you to everyone who watched us play through this on Twitch. Remember, if you want a sneak peek at what games we'll be reviewing in the future, or just want to hang out with us as we play through whatever is on our mind that day, then follow us over at twitch.tv/Professor Thorgi, or you can always follow us on Twitter at Professor Thorgi to stay up to date with everything that we're doing. And if you want to help support this channel and get yourself something cool in return, then follow the Amazon link in the description down below. It'll take you to where you can pick up a copy of this game, and if you buy that, or just us anything on Amazon, as long as you start by going through that link, we'll get a small cut of the profits. It's a great way to treat yourself and support the channel at the same time. But if you don't want to do that, then remember, it doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, or share us around the web. Those are some of the easiest ways to help this channel grow, and it really does show your support. Thanks again for tuning in, everyone. Come back next time.